आप आजाद हैं, आजाद रहें। आप लोग इस मुल्क पाकिस्तान में अपनी अपनी इबादतगाहों, मस्जिदों या मंदिरों में जाने के लिए।
At the time of India-Pakistan partition, Muhammad Ali Jinnah told his people, "You're free. You're free to go to your temples. You're free to go to your mosques or to any other place of worship in the state of Pakistan. You may belong to any religion or caste or creed that has nothing to do with the business of the state." But today, Pakistan is yet to realize a free Pakistan, rid of the evils of inequality. Forget about how Hindus and Sikhs are treated in Pakistan. The Ahmadis meet the worst fate. Muslims who are not treated like Muslims. In this episode of Statecraft, we'll talk about a Pakistan which has left one of the weakest segments of its society invisible and without a voice. Eid al-Adha, also known as the Festival of Sacrifice or Bakr Eid. It is an occasion when Muslims all over the world are encouraged to make every kind of sacrifice for the spiritual, moral and economic upliftment of mankind and especially of their own. But for the Ahmadi Muslims in Pakistan, preparations for the festival are conducted under a cloud. Banned from celebrating Eid for following a kind of Islam different from the rest of the country. At the front of this onslaught against the Ahmadis is Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. Once a banned outfit, it fought elections in 2023, won a few seats, garnered over 2 million votes, and today continues to terrorize the Ahmadis. At least 36 members of the Ahmadi Muslim community have been arrested in Pakistan this month on charges of sacrificing animals during Eid. These are exclusive visuals on your screen right now, where a frenzied crowd can be seen chanting in support as the police gaze quietly. It has now become a ritual that every Eid al-Adha, a controversy starts simmering around the Ahmadis' freedom to offer Eid prayers and sacrifice animals. Last year, police patrols were sent through the Punjab province, which has a predominantly Ahmadi population, to prevent the slaughter of animals by the Ahmadis. In some cases, animals were confiscated from homes and meat removed from refrigerators. The authorities have also asked the neighbors and locals to keep a watchful eye. Officers also announced at local mosques that any Ahmadi who wants to perform Eid should first convert to Islam. Celebrations among Ahmadis, typically quieter than the traditional boisterous visits, are even more muted this year. But why and under which law? Who are the Ahmadi Muslims? The Ahmadiyya Muslim community is one of the 73 sects of Islam. They are Muslims who do not believe that Prophet Muhammad was the last prophet. In fact, they believe Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian also to be a messiah or a prophet. One of the key differences is that the Orthodox Muslims look at the Quran as the final divine law from Allah and Prophet Muhammad as the last messenger of God. Whereas the Ahmadi Muslims believe that revelation from Allah is ongoing. Ahmadis identify themselves as the promised second rise of Islam. They do not portray themselves as a religious movement or an intellectual doctrine. They believe they are the last group of believers that arose by order of God after Muslims deviated from the right path and Islam became a soulless body. However, opponents of the community view it as a deviation from Islam itself. Ahmadis can be found across the Middle East and Northern Africa, but the majority of them do not publicly talk about their faith for fear of persecution. Now, why is Pakistan against the Ahmadi community? For some years now, the Ahmadis in Pakistan are banned from participating in the Islamic holidays. Today, Pakistani Ahmadis face a web of limitations, penalties, societal violence, and disenfranchisement unique in the world. They're not even allowed to offer animal sacrifices under threat of severe punishment. This has now reached alarming proportions. It starts with the Constitution. In 1974, Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto catered to Pakistan's right wing by amending the Constitution to write Ahmadis out of the Muslim faith. More laws aimed at the Ahmadis followed. You may be surprised to know that the Ahmadi community remains largely disenfranchised. To register as voters, Ahmadis must either renounce their faith or agree to be placed in a separate electoral list that categorizes them as non-Muslims. Because of this, many Ahmadis have been denied the right to vote in local, provincial and national elections. The lawfare against the Ahmadis grinds on. Police are said to be working on complaints by workers of extremist groups known as the Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. These radical preachers are particularly aggressive in their hate speech towards the persecuted minority, especially before Islamic holidays. This happens despite the fact that the Supreme Court, in a groundbreaking judgment in 2022, clearly stated that Ahmadis are not prohibited from performing their religious duties within their four walls and places of worship. However, TLP members pay little heed to such decisions. They usually enforce their own interpretation of the law, even if it contradicts court judgments. This pattern also includes the recent increase in attacks on Ahmadi mosques and their cemeteries. Now, who and what is TLP, or Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan? Formed in 2015, the TLP calls itself the defender of Prophet Muhammad's honor and demands severe punishment for those who do not believe in the Prophet's sanctity and finality. The hardline religious party, which subscribes to Sunni Muslim doctrine, strongly advocates Pakistan's blasphemy laws. The group's ideology has attracted a cult-like devotion among its supporters. The radical group even contested parliamentary polls in the country in 2018 and garnered over 2 million votes. Now, the TLP was outlawed in 2021 amid violent rallies over the publication of the caricatures of Islam's Prophet Muhammad in France. However, then Prime Minister Imran Khan soon lifted the ban after a lot of criticism. Given that blasphemy is such a hot-button issue and is instituted in Pakistan's laws, the state seems to be fearful of taking on the TLP. The TLP understands this and the fact that it has street power and uses it ruthlessly to its advantage to gain ground. The continued impunity that the TLP enjoys can be seen in their recent attacks on the Ahmadis. Moreover, the TLP likes to boast about its heinous attacks on social media as well, which brings me to my next point. How is social media adding fuel to this hate against the Ahmadis? The hate against Ahmadis is drastically spreading in Pakistan, and adding constant fuel to fire is the hate content on social media platforms. Social media platforms in Pakistan are flooded with anti-Ahmadiyya content. There are videos on YouTube in which Islamic scholars discuss whether Muslims can reply to the greetings of Ahmadis, or befriend them, or do business with them, or even let them live in the same community. Here are some clips on your screen. Some of these videos have thousands of views, and their comment sections are full of hate speech against the members of the Ahmadiyya community. People from the Ahmadi community have made scores of complaints to the Pakistan Center for Cyber Crimes. However, none of these complaints have triggered any response. And finally, has the Pakistan government or establishment done anything at all to protect the Ahmadis? In this year's parliamentary polls, the anti-Ahmadi rhetoric re-entered mainstream politics as politicians aim to shore up support among religiously conservative voters. The new dispensation under Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif tacitly accepts such offences. Governments after governments have done little to uplift the community. In 2017, Sharif's son-in-law expressed that the Ahmadi sect doesn't have a concept of jihad in their false religion. He called for action against the community and backed for a ban on their recruitment in the armed forces. Politicians have either avoided or chosen their words very carefully while talking about the Ahmadiyyas. Take former Pakistan President Pervez Musharraf, for instance.
This is a very sensitive question that you're asking, really. Personally, I believe in tolerance, I believe in moderation, I believe in allowing anyone and everyone that religion should be between him and his God. And I don't believe in interfering in that domain. But unfortunately, the Muslim world is, many are divided on this issue. If we take Pakistan, well, let me not go into that, it will be a long answer. But they took a certain decision on the Ahmadiyya issue.
Over the years, every turn the government takes for Pakistani Ahmadis, it ends up in a U-turn. But a minority commission without a single Ahmadi Muslim is not the right way to go forward with the issue. Today, it's deadly dangerous to be an Ahmadi in Pakistan. An entire cottage industry exists not just to defend traditional Islamic interpretations, but to castigate Ahmadis, encouraging boycotts of their business and their continued exclusion from society. Broad reforms are needed, or the future of the Ahmadi faith in Pakistan is in doubt. Repealing the anti-Ahmadi and blasphemy laws would be an act of supreme courage. It would end decades of extremist expansion that has distorted the country and threatens everybody. In the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, religion is inseparable, and so is the politics of religion. No political party in Pakistan or even the establishment is brave enough to take on the extremists who oppose peaceful coexistence of the Ahmadis with the rest of Pakistan. Many have lost their lives in the process of this fight for justice. Many have lost power. The question is, how many Ahmadi Muslims must suffer or die until the Islamic Republic of Pakistan realizes the dream of Jinnah? Joining me now from Pakistan is Yasir Latif Hamdani. He is a human rights lawyer, has been working on this issue for a very long time. Yasir, thank you for joining us here on India Today Global. Brave of you, because this is a very sensitive topic. But when it comes to outrage, why is there no outrage in Pakistan?
No, unfortunately, there isn't enough outrage about this in Pakistan. If anything, there is a general sense of apathy. There are some people who are talking about it, but generally speaking, it's very popular discrimination, and there's this poison against this community that's sort of has trickled down through the entire society from top to bottom. So I don't think there is enough outrage on this.
Right, but then again, we have the Ahmadis who are being arrested. Under which law? We are asking this. Under which law? How are they being arrested for wanting to sacrifice animals? Even if they're carrying cattle with them, how is it even allowed to take an individual into custody just because they have cattle in their possession? How is that allowed in Pakistan?
As far as the law is concerned, there is Section 298C. This was introduced by the military dictator General Zia-ul-Haq in the 1980s. It basically holds that Ahmadis cannot pose to be Muslims. Now, arguably, the fact that they're carrying out ritual sacrifice is posing to be a Muslim. So that's the law they're trying to get them under. Of course, there's a Supreme Court judgment that says that's not the case, that Ahmadis are free to carry out their religious rites, including prayers and sacrifice on their property, or their property or their places of worship. Unfortunately, that's been rubbished, it seems, by the Punjab police and the Punjab government. They're not doing anything about it. They're basically disregarding the Supreme Court judgment.
Yes, so there's a problem here. We do know that extremists are a problem, that politicians, leaders, influencers, they're all very scared of these extremists. But why are political parties keeping so mum that there is no voice? We've heard nothing. There have been arrests and persecution of Ahmadis across Pakistan over Eid, but nothing from any political party at all.
Political parties are keeping mum because they just don't have it in them. After 2017, when the current ruling party, PMLN, was in power, they tried to include Ahmadis in the single voters list, and there was huge backlash, and at the time all the other parties got on the bandwagon of Khatme Nabuwat, or the finality of prophethood. Ever since then, every political party is very, very hesitant in taking on this issue. So yeah, I think political parties in general, I don't expect any political party to stand up.
Then has the TLP and its extremism won? Have they won this entire fight that we've seen the likes of you carry on with? Has the TLP won?
I think yes, TLP has won in the short term, but in the longer term, on the longer timeline, I imagine that ultimately things would get better, but it remains to be seen whether that's going to be in one's lifetime or not. But yes, in the short term, TLP has won. It has managed to defeat both the Supreme Court's clear orders on the issue and has managed to get Punjab Police to do its bidding and other police forces, but especially the Punjab Police to do its bidding. So yes, unfortunately, TLP has won.
You've been raising your voice for a long time, but how difficult is it for you and people like you and people from the members of the civil society and human rights lawyers? How difficult is it for you to fight this injustice? Is there fear for your life? Are you threatened?
How much of a struggle is it for people like me? I think that it's a huge struggle. Like I said, it is a very popular discrimination, a discrimination that is now become second nature, and it basically since the 1980s, especially after the 1984 law, and then subsequent changes to the passport forms and the national identity card forms. In order to be a Muslim, you have to not only say the kalama and the profession of Islamic faith, but you also have to declare this particular community imposter and non-Muslim. So it's actually become sort of necessary. It's become part of the Pakistani psyche, or the Pakistani Muslim psyche at least, for the most part. So it is an uphill battle, but Pakistan is a signatory to the ICCPR. Pakistan's constitution, Article 20, speaks very clearly about religious freedom being unfettered, the right to profess, propagate, practice, propagate as well. All of these rights are denied to the Ahmadis. So I have faith that ultimately the Supreme Court would do something about it, and then there would be some sort of outrage from the international community, and maybe Pakistan could be held to account in terms of the ICCPR as well. So maybe that's the way forward. Unfortunately, the international community must act fast, because from what I can see, and this is just an observation, in the 8 stages of genocide, Pakistan has crossed the preparation stage, and I honestly fear that there might be an extermination stage that is coming through. So I think it would be very tragic for this wonderful community to be wiped out, but the international community needs to do something really quickly to stop this from happening.
Yasir Latif Hamdani, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. That's all in this edition of Statecraft. Goodbye and take care.